Hi angels, welcome back to another video. So the first one did not turn out well, so I bought a mold from Etsy. That's the mold, is a moon mold. It was only $8, and obviously I have some lights, and these are the flowers that I preserved for my birthday. These one I preserved like months or years ago. I don't know where I got those from, but they were just laying around, so I was like, why not just use it to see if I can redo this again, because obviously the first one did not turn out that well, and I figure out why. And also, the rest of the flowers in the bags, they were from Amazon. And the dry orange, I got those from Etsy's, but you can just dry the fruits yourself. I end up not using the fruits or the lights. I forgot about the lights. I should have placed down the lights in there once I did the first layer of resin. Then that would have made sense, but I didn't, so the lights had to go. So first thing I did was pour down my first layer of resin. Obviously, since I'm trying to avoid bubbles or anything like that. For the resin, part A and part B separately, I place in some hot water for a few minutes so that all of the bubbles can rise up, so that there's no bubbles when I start to mix or anything. And after that, I just mix it up and then I pour it and there's no bubbles. It's like less bubbles. I'm not going to say no bubbles, but it's less bubbles. And if there's any bubbles, I just use my lighter to get rid of it. So now I'm just placing down the green flowers that I got from Amazon that was in the Ziploc bag that I showed you guys earlier. And obviously, as I'm placing them down, there's bubbles that's rising up. So I'm just using my lighter to get rid of it real quickly. Dun, 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 dun. And I was pressing down the flowers so that the resin can come on top of it. The resin can cover it. So just in case if there's any bubbles underneath it, once you press down on it, it will rise up, and then you can just use your lighter or whatever you want to use to get rid of the bubbles. Bum, 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 bum. I don't know why I'm pulling you guys closer. You can obviously see. So now it's time now to lay down the flowers. The yellow one that I just placed in there, that one I got for my 23rd birthday. 23rd birthday. It is. So I just placed that one in there first because that's the center of everything. And that's what all the flowers is going to be revolving around. So the rest of them I'm just placing around it. Red and white. Is it white or is it yellow? Honestly, I don't know what color it was before, but it just looks so old and dried up. I also got these little tiny flowers. I think I preserved these myself, or I probably bought it from Amazon. Not really sure. It was in the bag, and that bag has been sitting around, so I don't know what I was placing in there. So who knows? Dun, dun, dun. Is it raining? It is. Oh, Jesus. Oh. So with this flowers, there was some of it that was already breaking off and stuff like that. So I just pop off a few little petals off of it and then place it back in there so that it would not be clouding it. I didn't want everything to be leading up at the side, just in the center, so it can avoid bubbles around the edges. So that's why I'm kind of like pulling everything to the center. To the center. And obviously there's some bubbles rising up. Just use my lighter to get rid of it. So I purposely always have some resin left over to the side so that I can pour the resin into the rose, because obviously that's where most of the bubbles is going to be forming and rising up from. So just pour it down in there, so eventually as you're doing each layer and pouring down the resin into the rose, the bubbles can rise up and it can cure with everything else. So I'm just pouring it all over. And since I don't like to resin and resin, I'm like scooping every bit of it out of the cup so I can just pour it into the roses. Yeah. I was still digging through the bag to see what else was in there, what else I could add, what else I could take out. Trying to figure everything out. But I wasn't trying to put like a ton of stuff in there because that's going to give me problems later on with the bubbles. And we're trying to avoid bubbles. So the first layer has completely dried, and that's how it looks. Looks pretty good. So now it's time now for the second layer of resin. First thing first, I always pour pour the resin into the roses first, and then just pour it at the side so that it can at least give the roses time for the bubbles to rise up, and then I can just use my lighter or a little pin to pop it. And you can see from that yellow one right there, yellow or white one, that the bubbles is already starting to rise up, and I'm just popping it. So it looks So I think this is the third layer or fourth layer. I didn't show you guys every single time that I was pouring in resin because I was basically repeating the same step over and over again, trying to fill it all the way up. So yeah, who knows what layer this one is. And I'm going to show you guys how I pop the bubbles. So in the roses, you can clearly see like at the bottom of it or in each layer of resin, the the bubble will either cure with the resin or it will come on top of the resin so that you can just use your pin to poke it, and then eventually it will rise up and then you can pop it, which I'm going to show you guys what I mean right here. I'm going to be poking the yellow rose and then you see the bubble rise up. And I'm just going to use my pin to pop it. It's better to use a pin because remember these are dry flowers and they're crumbly and they're dried out, so when you do put the lighter next to it, it does start a little fire, even though I'm doing it. But trust me, a little fire might rise up. So there's a bubble in the center that I'm poking at so that it can come up. And there it is rising up. Just use my pin to pop it, or you can just use a lighter, whichever way works. And I think this is where I add on in there the final layer. Not a final layer. After this layer that I poured, I add in there another one, which ran everything over. So this is basically the last step, pouring everything down. And since we're coming on top of the roses, there's gonna be some bubbles that's gonna be rising up. So I was watching it, and as they rose up, I just use my pin to pop it or the lighter, whichever way works. Dun, dun. Look at how perfectly clear the resin is. Wonderful. And here's a bubble that just came up from the flowers and was floating around. Eventually, I used my lighter to pop it. And this, after like 24 hours, the final layer dried. I went a little too extra on the final layer, so it ran over on the side. So I'm going to need to use my X-Acto knife to clean it up, which I'm going to show you guys how I do that. It's very bendy, so it's not fully cured. So it's very easy when you're using the X-Acto knife because it's soft. And you can just either pull it off with your hand. I'm not strong enough for that, so I just use my X-Acto knife to just go around the edges. And then to fix up the edges, all you're going to need to do is just sand it down. I did not have any more sanding things, so I just let it be until I eventually get some. But yeah, see what I'm doing right here. So with the mold, not all of the flowers were fully covered with the resin because obviously some of them were sticking out. So I'm also going to need to sand down the top part of it, and then after finish sanding it down, pour some resin on top of it. Together everything to make it nice and shiny. By the way, this video is sped up, so I wasn't going as fast as you see in there with the X-Acto knife. And I fixed up the rest of it off camera because it was better to just do it that way. So this is a close-up of how it looks. Amazing. Those little tiny flowers at the corners, those are the only one that gave me problems. You can see that there was bubbles rising up. I think the third or fourth layer, that's when the bubbles started to rose up, and then it just got cured with everything else. But the back of it looks amazing. The sides looks amazing. This turned out amazing. Finally, I got it right. Kind of got it right because the flower was sticking out. But that can easily be fixed. So yes, finally got it. So excited. Here's a final close-up of it. Looks amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And hopefully, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.